Ambassador, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It's good to be with you. Thank you for the invite.
Anytime.
Anytime?
Anytime. You're always welcome here.
Okay.
The last time we heard from you in terms of how negotiations were going, you said that there likely wasn't going to be a lot of progress in August and that the vibe was off the table. Since the August 1st deadline has come and gone, how have things gone from the American perspective?
不要逼我们动手。
I think it's the same. The vibe is, well, we'll get through this, but it may take a little while.
What's wrong with the vibe?
What's wrong with the vibe? Well, number one, the vibe is, hey, we didn't get there by August 1. And obviously, I think on both sides, the negotiators feel that they haven't made enough progress and that there's enough significant issues out there that are going to take a considerable amount of work.
这几天不行，我来事儿了。
One of the things that we've heard, and there's been a lot of questions of Prime Minister Carney, is why he has not had a phone call with the president to discuss these issues. From your perspective, why do you think that hasn't happened?
That's a question that the president or the prime minister needs to answer. I mean, obviously, either one of them can pick up the phone and try to make the call or make the call. Why it hasn't happened at this point in time, that's for the prime minister and the president to answer. I don't explain the president's to that detail in terms of what his agenda is, and I don't far be it for me to ever speak for the prime minister.
喂，我这听不清楚啊。
You mentioned that there are some significant issues at the table still. From the American perspective, what are those issues that are still outstanding?
Well, I mean, when you look at it, the big picture, the president had some agenda items that he wanted to do. At 30,000 feet, I want to make the American people more prosperous, more stable, and more secure. He had a list of things that were under there that he was going to implement. He said, "I'm going to secure America's borders." He did that within, probably less than 45 days. The flow of people primarily coming, across the southern border has dramatically been cut. He also announced, that on a global basis, that he was going to remake from an American perspective, how global trade worked. It had not worked to America's benefit. It was hollowing out our middle class. It was hollowing out our manufacturing. And he believes for us to be a strong country that we need both of those things. We need a strong middle class. We need a prosperous country. We need a strong manufacturing base. And, he told the world, I'm going to implement tariffs. And he made that decision, back at the beginning of April. Since that time, what are the obstacles here? I think that, some of the obstacles are, we ran a campaign here that was based on elbows up, and me too. All right, so you saw the politicians, and they basically stuck with elbows up, and that's okay. That's how Canada decided to respond through what the president was doing on trade on a global basis. Since that time, what have we seen? We have seen, and this I think is on a more macro scale rather than just the details of where they're having issues on getting to a deal. But Canada's indicated, hey, this is our opportunity to rethink how we do trade globally, who our trading partners are going to be. We got to can we reach out to Europe? Can we reach out to Asia? Can we reach out to Mexico so we can diversify our trading partners rather than having 70% of your exports in America being the customer for 70% of your exports. We want to change that. So Canada's working through that process, trying to figure out exactly how that looks. Some Canadian politicians have decided that they will attack the president personally. They will attack people on his economic team, his negotiating team. They will attack them personally, not on the policy, but them personally. Again, that is a Canadian decision. All we do is respond to it. The Canadians have indicated that you know, by imposing as a retaliatory tariff, you know, they put some in place, but then they also started putting tariffs on CUSMA products, products that are protected under the Canadian-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. We haven't done that, but Canada has decided that, you know, that's fair game. We will, you know, call into question CUSMA. Again, that is a Canadian decision. You can do that. You've called into question the military alliance, which has worked so successfully for 40 to 50 years. We are thrilled that that the Canadians are, you know, signed on to the NATO agreement to move to 5%. It looks like Canada by the end of this year may be spending at a 2% rate, which is a number that was agreed on way back in 2014, but we're very thankful and appreciative of the moves that the Carney government is making in that area. But at the same time, we get mixed signals. You're buying 16 F-35s, great. The other 72 have been put on hold, maybe canceled. Really don't know what the status of the next 72 are. Bottom line is Canada can't afford two different fighters, an F-35. I mean, maintaining any particular kind of aircraft is very expensive. Having two different versions basically filling the same niche in your defense portfolio gets to be very expensive. These are all things that, you know, have to be worked through as we move forward.
So lots to unpack there.
Yeah, there is.
Let's start with CUSMA, though.
Yeah.
When the tariffs first came in, Donald Trump had no exemption for free trade goods. That changed a couple of days after, in particular thanks to market reaction. Is there any indication from what you've talked with the White House that that exemption for free trade goods for Canada, as negotiations could go on, could come off if these irritants like you're talking about with these tariffs on CUSMA goods continues?
I don't know what the decision will be. That will be the president's decision, his team's decision. I've provided my feedback on what's happening with that. I think, personally, you know, I think that's a huge problem. Tariff, because remember now what you're now doing is you are tariffing a whole set of American products coming into Canada, where, you know, those same products coming from, you know, in those categories, those same products going into the United States are not tariffed. So if you're a company making a product, you send it to Canada, basically you're out of the market, okay? Because it's a 25% tariff. You will not be able to compete against your Canadian competitors in this country. But if your Canadian competitor comes into the U.S., tariff-free. He's just gotten the whole Canadian market handed to him because Canadians have, you know, taken them out of the marketplace. But if they want to come into Canada or in the U.S., they are more than welcome, and, you know, they continue to be. I consider it very, very unfair, and, you know, we'll see what the president and his advisors do.
We've heard from Doug Ford, the Ontario Premier, saying that Donald Trump could pull the rug out from underneath NAFTA or CUSMA, USMCA, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
As soon as November. Is there an appetite from the administration to push up the review, which is supposed to be in 2026?
I think that I love Doug. All right, we've met a number of times, we've talked on the phone a number of times, and we've always had great conversations. Canada is the country that has pulled the rug out from USMCA. You know, so for, you know, a premier to say, well, the U.S. could pull it out at any minute, you know, the response is, no, Canada pulled out the rug from USMCA. You know, I don't know exactly what the date was, but, you know, a few months back when they said, hey, we're going to tariff USMCA products. And this, again, is, you know, that's a fact, okay? You know, and that is just, you know, throwing it out there, saying, well, this could happen. Lots of things could happen in the future. That's totally hypothetical. But what we do know as a fact is that in retaliation to the tariffs that the U.S. put in place, Canada decided to tariff CUSMA products.
现在当黄脸婆的是你，不是我. You mentioned you like Doug Ford. But you may say that there have been comments from other politicians, in particular premiers, that have upset you. What are the other comments from premiers, and which premiers have you been upset with the comments that they've made?
Oh, I mean, you guys can find those. I mean, if I misstep or, in this interview, if I say a word or a phrase wrong, you and your colleagues across Canadian media will highlight it and nail me in a minute. He got that fact wrong, or he didn't, he doesn't realize this or that. I don't think you guys would have any trouble at all identifying what phrases I might be referencing or what premiers have maybe been critical of the president.
David Eby being one of them. It was his office that leaked that talk that you gave that referenced the president feeling that Canadians are being nasty and mean associated with not going down
He
there.
didn't leak the comment. I said it in an open forum, okay, with, 200, 250 people there. He didn't leak it. He decided, without having been there, to amplify it and, whatever. So that, again, there's an example of me speaking for an hour and Canadians being really, really good at finding a phrase, 10 or 15 words out of an hour conversation with 250 people and say, look at what the American ambassador is saying. And I came out of politics. I'm used to that.
On the retaliation point, whenever Canada gets brought up, whether it be interviews with you, of course, you talk about it a lot, but we've heard this from the President, the Treasury Secretary, the Commerce Secretary. They always mention that Canada is only one of two countries that's actually retaliated against the U.S., China being the other. Were you surprised that Canada retaliated after the tariffs that Donald Trump put in place?
I think it's the Canadians who have said that, there have been two countries that have been very strong in their retaliatory tactics against the United States, and that is China and Canada. The Canadians have said that. And it may have started, I don't know where it started, but it may have started from, some of the Canadian leaders rather than the president saying that. But we're well aware that, there's two countries that have been relatively harsh against the United States, and that's China and Canada. Are we surprised that Canada retaliated? I don't know. Okay. What we do know is that at this point, we have an agreement with Japan. We have an agreement with South Korea. We have an agreement with the UK. We have an agreement with the EU. It's a pretty impressive list of countries that, have found the time, the energy to engage in negotiations and get to an agreement with the United States that lays out a path forward. So Canada is one of the countries that we've not gotten to that point yet that lays out a path forward.
There was a new Gallup poll out today that said that 15% of Canadians have a positive view, 79% have a negative view of the administration.
Yeah.
When you talk with folks in the White House, what's your explanation or your thought process on why you think Canadians are so frustrated with the Trump administration?
It's not hard, okay? You have a campaign that took place where both parties ran on an anti-American platform. You're in a situation where your business community, who have prospered, your business community that has hundreds of American companies in Canada paying solid wages, providing great jobs, that has been ignored. Okay, when I was in Winnipeg, you go to Boeing, you go to, Boeing's building parts in Canada. You go to Magellan, they're building parts for every F-35 that is flying and that will be flying in the future. But nobody's celebrating the thousands of jobs that American companies who have significant presence in Canada are creating. That's not being celebrated. The vast majority of your business community that has business relationships with the U.S., they've been relatively quiet. And your media, okay, I mean, their prime sport, okay, is beating up Donald Trump every day. So no, I'm not surprised by those numbers.
Not surprised?
No, I'm a politician, okay? If I were in a riding And everybody in that riding, was trashing a candidate. They had no support from any political party. They had no support from their business community. The media was piling on. It's kind of like, wow, 15%, Mr. President, that's not bad. But the important thing here is not the popularity of the president is the president delivering on the promises that he made to the American people for increasing prosperity in America, making their communities safer and more secure. That is what's driving this president, the promises that he made to the American people and implementing the policies that he believed will deliver those results.
I think if you talk to a lot of Canadians, one of the reasons they might have been upset with the president is because a lot of those 51st state comments, which he dominated the beginning of the year for the president. He's not saying as much now. But if you go back to that time, do you think that was like a compliment from Donald Trump, that he would want to have Canada as the 51st state?
All as I hear how this originated, and he was talking to one of your prime ministers. You only have one at a time. I know that, okay? And they were talking about tariffs and these kinds of things, and some issues were raised and all of these kinds of things, and your prime minister, supposedly laid out a series of things that were necessary, to keep Canada strong. And when the president heard them, it's kind of like, sounds like you want to be a state.
But
end of story.
But he kept saying it. He kept saying it publicly. He said it to Mark Carney while he was in the White House too, different prime minister. Why did he keep doing it then?
And your prime minister, I was there, responded and saying, this is, that's not going to happen, I think were the exact words. But, the bottom line is, from our standpoint, we're focused on the economic agenda that will deliver prosperity to the American people and that will give them a safe and secure environment. If Canadians want to stay focused on, what the president was saying about the 51st state and all of that, again, and if you want that to cloud these economic decisions and drive for economic decision, and use that emotion, and I recognize the emotion. I mean, I hear it from people, and if you want to, if you want to drive these decisions to be emotional decisions, that's okay, okay? But these are economic decisions.
On that point,
yes,
the Supreme Court, in the filing that the DOJ has given to the Supreme Court about the legality of the tariffs with the cases going on, a large part of it is focused on the idea that the administration is bringing in a boatload of money. It talks about how if the tariffs came off, it would result in a 1929 style result, saying that there'd be a big depression. That is a far departure from the rationale that has been given for the tariffs on Canada associated with fentanyl. Is it clear now that these tariffs are not actually about fentanyl and about bringing in billions and billions of dollars into federal coffers for the U.S.?
It is clear that there are multiple results of the tariffs, that they will bring in a significant amount of revenue into our coffers. There's also the recognition that when you're dealing with these kinds of issues and when you're dealing with fentanyl, the president's trying to resolve and keep his promise of making America a safer place. Canada and the United States both have a huge problem with fentanyl. All right, we're losing way too many Americans each and every day. Canada's losing way too many Canadians each and every day to the curse of fentanyl. And the president is doing everything that he can to stop the flow, whether it is from Mexico, and I think on both sides of the border up here on the north, we recognize that there are things that we can do to make this border more secure, to stop whatever's flowing across the border, north and south, to reduce that and get the same kind of results that we have down on the southern border. And the second thing that we can do is to prepare that border, because as we continue to tighten the border, the southern border, cartels, non-government organizations, criminal organizations, they're going to look for another place to get that stuff into the United States of America. And we want Canada to be a full partner with us to make sure that that happens.
Ambassador, thanks for your time. I'll take you up on having you back anytime. We really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.